everybody, Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk, and thank you very much for joining me today. This is the project that I'm making today. It's a rather sweet little gift bag which has a rather neat little way of closing. When I twist the medallion on the front, I can open my bag, and when I close it up and twist it again, my bag is locked in place. Stay with me and I'll show you how I made it. These are the supplies that I'm going to be using today. I have some delightful Dijon card, which is 8 inches by 10.5 inches. I've cut some pieces of the Petals and Paisleys DSP, which I've cut to 3.25 inches by 3.75 inches, and I've cut 2 pieces at that size. And I've cut 1 piece which is 3.25 inches by 1.75 inches, and those are going to cover the outside of my little bag. I'm using the Paisleys and Posies stamp set, which coordinates with the DSP, and I'm also using the coordinating die set, which is called the Paisleys framelets dies. I'm going to be using some of those. I've also got my layering squares framelets. I'm going to be using those. Some of the other things I'm going to be using: I'm going to be using a Versamark ink, and I'm going to be embossing in gold, and I'm also going to be using some of the Mint Macaron Grosgrain ribbon, which is in a trio pack, and that's in the same suite as the stamps and the paper and the framelets and all of that good stuff. And it's this item here. It's 3/8 of an inch ribbon trio pack. Okay, and I'm also going to be using scrap. I'm going to score my delightful Dijon on the 10.5 inch side at 1.5, and then at 5, 6.5, and 10. And then I'm going to turn my card, and I'm going to score at 1.5, and then at 5.5, and at 6. Burnished all my folds, and now I want to cut away the pieces that I don't want. So this is going to be the front of my card, this is going to be the back, and this is going to be the piece that comes over the flap that comes over the front. So I don't need that or that. I don't need any of this. I don't need any of these pieces, and this is going to be the bottom of my card, but so I don't need this piece. Okay, so by doing that, just thinking, do I need all of that? Yes, I do. So by putting those marks, I now know which pieces I want to cut away, and I've got my nice big scissors, and I'm just going to chop along and get rid of all those pieces that I don't want. And just in case, I made my marks on the back, because I know only too well what I am like. So all of that piece can go on one side, and I don't need these pieces. I'm just going to snip into my edges there, and again there, and there, and I'm just going to snip up as far as the fold for these bottom pieces. And I'm just going to cut a sliver out of these flaps here. Doesn't need to be a massive chunk. Just helps everything fit together nicely. I'm going to put my tear and tape where I want it now, before I get all carried away and forget about it, but I'm not sticking anything down just this minute. So I'm going to put some tear and tape along that flap there, and that is going to be the front. So I'm going to put some tear and tape along this edge here. And I want this to be quite a sturdy box, so I'll put a couple of pieces of tearing tape. And again, I could use fuse, and if I did that, I would put that on just before I put it all together. So let me just check that I've got that the right way round. And yes, I have. So it's going to fit together quite nicely. Okay. So one more thing that I want to do is I want to round off the edges of this flap. So I'm sitting my card quite nicely into my corner rounder and giving it a snip, and then doing the same on the other side. And that is the basis of my little box. Now before I stick anything together, I'm going to apply my decorative paper. So this is the piece that's going to go on the flap, and I want to round the corners of this piece as well. So again, and I'm making sure that I'm rounding the corners because I want those patterns going up the right way. Just want to make sure that everything's pointing in the right direction. Good. So this is going to go on with a bit of jolly old fast fuse. And the trick with fast fuse is a light touch, lighter than you would think, because it's very, very sticky, and as soon as it hits the paper, it's stuck. And if you press on it, you just make life difficult for yourself. So light touch, and then flick to break it. And I'm just going to centre this onto the flap. When I stuck that down, I didn't stick it down terribly well. And because it's fast fuse, I use fast fuse, that is stuck. That's not coming off in a hurry. However, I will show you the magic substance that will help you in these situations, and it is lighter fluid. And again, cheap as chips. Now I believe in the USA they sell something called Undo. We can't get that over here, and because it is flammable, it's not allowed to be, it can't be shipped. And at the moment that looks like a dreadful mess, and you're thinking, oh no, it is ruined. But this is, although it's called, we call it petrol for a petrol lighter, actually it's naphtha. And it has left a bit of a sticky mess on the back of my DSP here, but that's alright because I can rub that off. That will just come away. And leave a sticky mess all over my fingers, but never mind. Or I could just cut another piece of DSP. There we are, the lighter fluid's dried. It hasn't marked my card at all, and I've been able to reapply my my DSP so that it is a bit straighter. I'm going to carry on now and decorate the rest of the box. I'm going to do one more thing before I finish with this box altogether, and that is I'm going to punch some holes for my ribbon. Now I'm going to put one about there to begin with, and I'm going to pinch my box and I'm going to line that up so that I can see where that actually would be easier if I did it that way, wouldn't it? There we go. That way. And now I can bring the same thing on this side. I need to do this way around. Okay, so again, and this time I'm kind of eyeballing it because it's not that vital as long as it's close enough, but I do want these two pieces to match up. Okay, the same thing there. So those, I will run my ribbon through those when I come to finally assemble the card. So that is the stage we are at the moment. Now I want to cut the piece for the locking mechanism, and to do that I've got the smallest of my layering squares, and I'm folding up my bag so that it fits onto my Big Shot platform, and I'm going to center that where I want it onto the front flap of my card, and I am going to go away and cut that out, and I'll be back in a minute. And there it is. I'm going to be using these two stamps from the Paisleys and Posies stamp set, and I can't decide whether I want them on Mint Macaron or whether I want them on Delightful Dijon. So do you know what? I'm going to do both, and I'm going to see which I prefer. So I've got Versamark ink, and I'm going to start with the teeny tiny one, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to let that transfer. And I'm going to do the same on this, which is the piece that I cut away from the bag. See, nothing gets wasted in craft. Now I'm going to use the larger of the mandala stamps, and I'm going to stamp it onto the Mint Macaron. 2, 3, 4, 5, and again on the Delightful Dijon. And I'm going to give them both some gold embossing powder. I normally have a little spoon at this point, but that seems to have gone on its holidays, and I really do need it. Let me see, a bit of scrap card here that I can use instead. There we go, that's better. Okay, so that's those, and this one's much easier because I can fit it into my little pot. And I think I've got about, oops, I didn't want to do that. Yeah, that's better. Not worrying about these bits because they're going to be cut away. So put the lid on, fire up the heat gun. And while it's warming up, I'm just going to put the lid back on the Versamark and put that out of the way. Those out of the way. Let's have a clearer. Okay, that's had a couple of seconds to get warm. There we go. Now it's coming. That is a lovely gold, I have to say. Delightful Dijon, come on. Right, I'm going to take these over to the Big Shot, and I'm going to chop them out with the accompanying dies, which is that one, and that one, which is a teeny tiny little circle. Look at that. And I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, and this piece didn't cut so well. It moved while it was going through the Big Shot, so I guess the decision's been taken for me. I'm going to be using the Delightful Dijon piece. I'm going to do one more bit of stamping and embossing. I've taken this stamp from the same set, And I know it's going to be too big, but I'm not really worrying too much about that. I'm just going to fit as much of it as I can onto my little green square here and press down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I'll pop this into the embossing powder and see how it's worked. I think that'll do nicely, and let's heat emboss that. Okay, now I'm going to put all my locking bits together, and I've gone ahead and I put a dimensional onto the back of this piece. So I shall going to assemble this bit. So to assemble this piece, I've put a dimensional onto the back of this part of it. So I'm just going to pull the back away, and I'm going to center that on my underneath piece. And on this teeny tiny little piece, a dimensional is going to be too big. I've gone ahead and I've put one of our metallic enamel dots into the middle there. So I'm going to take my snips, which have wandered off. There they are, where they should have been all along, and I'm just going to cut a little piece out of the edge of the dimensionals here. This is the great thing about the dimensionals, you can use every single scrap of them. And I'm going to take that away from there, and that is going to fit into the center of my mandala, and I now have a fairly fancy looking piece of card. I've got the square of Delightful Dijon that came out of the flap of the bag here, and I'm just going to mark the center of it. So I'm just lining up my ruler very carefully with the corners and marking across, and I'm going to do the same from the other side. And I expect you've probably guessed that this isn't going to be seen anywhere. And I happen to have a small hole punch here. If I didn't have that, then I could, got a bit of paper caught in it from the last time I used it. If I didn't have that, then I could use my piercing tool. That would work just as well. It's just to give things a start, just so that I've got somewhere where I know I'm going to mark. Okay, right, now I'm going to use low tack tape and I'm just going to fit, I'm going to close my bag up as I would want it. I'm just going to low tack it down just for a second, and I'm going to fit my square inside. You see now that's moved, I don't want that to move. Be a bit firmer with the low tack tape. When I'm absolutely certain that is how I want it, then I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to mark where that hole is. Take away my bits of low tack tape, stick them to my table for future use. Okay, so where that hole is, will my punch reach? It may not, I may need to use my piercing tool. Not a big deal. Yes, it will. So I'm going to punch a hole about there. I've just done the most fantastic job of explaining how the locking mechanism goes onto the front of the bag, and then found I hadn't actually turned my camera on. So I've disassembled the lock and I'm going to put it back again. I have closed up the bottom of the bag. That is just a straightforward, just folding in the flaps and sticking it down. The tear and tape was already on it. Just to recap, I've marked the centre of my piece of card and punched a hole, and I've got a corresponding hole in the front of the bag. Right. I also have a paper fastener, stroke brad. This is one from an office supply store. It's not a craft one. You need one with fairly long legs. Okay, you need, you need a bit of length there. And I've also got my dimensionals, and I have put tear and tape onto the back of my decorative piece. Okay, so I am going to take a dimensional, and I'm going to leave the back on it, but I'm going to put it onto my card here. In fact, I'll do it on, no, I'll do it on that side, because it's going to be covered, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to put that fairly central, and I'm going to poke a hole, and try not to poke a hole in my fingers, with my piercing tool here. Okay, I'm going to take that away afterwards and give it a good wipe, and get the glue off it. Right, now, so now I'm going to take the brad, stroke paper fastener, and I'm going to pierce it through the middle, and I want to make sure that that backing is staying on to the onto the dimensional. I can't even think anymore. Okay, right, so now I'm going to take the adhesive off of the decorative piece. Not the adhesive, the adhesive back, you know what I mean, the backing tape. Like I said, it was one of those moments when you realise that you haven't actually turned the camera on. And I'm going to squish these together. Now, because there is a big old lump in the middle of the, in the middle of the paper fastener, okay, there is a big old lump in the middle of this piece as well. But because we've got the decorative piece on top, it doesn't show. All right, so nobody will know it was there. Okay, so when that is, I'm satisfied that that's well stuck down, as well as it can be, with a lump in the middle of it. I am going to apply this to the front of my box and open up the legs of the brads, which, to be fair, do open up quite easily, because I've already done this once. Right, now I've put a groove, in fact all I did was that, okay, so should probably come along and do it a bit better, into that piece at the top there, because I found it made the bag a bit easier to close. So now that is going to pop through there, and that will spin, it will spin, and it will catch the aperture, it will catch around the edges, and it will hold them closed. And when I want to open it, I just need to turn it thus, or actually probably this, and I can open my bag. So for the handles of my bag, which are my finishing touch, I have a nice long length of grosgrain ribbon. That's about, I don't know, it's almost a yard, I think, almost 3 feet. So I've cut this end to a point so I can grab hold of it easily, and I'm going to go from this front hole, the hole at the front of my bag, and I'm going to come from the inside to the outside, and I'm going to pull my tail through. I'm going to go over the top, and I'm going to go from the outside to the inside. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that that isn't twisted, because I don't want that to happen. And then I'm going to go from the inside to the outside. again. I'm going to make sure that the ribbon isn't twisted. And then I'm going to go over the top again, and I'm going to go from the outside to the inside. Okay. And I'm going to decide how long I want the handles to be, and I've got way too much ribbon here. I'm just going to adjust things to, I think that's about right. Okay, and I'm just going to tie a knot. And chop off the ends. There is the finished locking gift bag. And I think that is a really clever way of making a closure. I didn't invent it, I didn't think of it, I saw it in a book or somewhere, but I just think that is really neat. And if you agreed with me, and if you've enjoyed this tutorial, then please do leave me a comment, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting more projects soon. Visit my blog, visit my Facebook page if you want to find out how you can get hold of the supplies that I've used in making this bag. Then please do by all means visit my online store, and the details are underneath this video. I will be posting more projects soon, but for now, thank you very, very much for joining me, and I hope that I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.